Hello everybody. So, some mistakes were just made. I was having a good time tuning my bow, and I was doing walkback tuning. That's when you start real close, like right here, with the target right there. You aim at a fixed point, that dot, all the way up there, and then you walk back. Well, I walked back too far with my brand new arrows. The bright side of this is that the arrow is safe. It didn't smack into the stones. It just caught the very bottom of my target. And a matter of fact, I did a really good job with it, because not only did I hit the wood, I managed to go through the back of it. Hopefully you can see that beautiful tungsten tip sticking out of the back. Oh, by the way, this is also my first dozen arrows in a long time that I'm actually using tungsten tips. I've pretty much always have shot stainless steel, but I'm trying out tungsten, one for like a tuning thing, and then two, I'm trying to, see how, fast, but still like front heavy, like have a good front of center, but at the same point in time have a heavy shaft that's moving very quickly. See how it helps with wind resistance, because if you have a heavy object moving through the air at a fairly good rate of speed, the wind is going to have a harder time moving it. I don't know. Korea seems to do it that way. Of course, it's always really hard to get down like the actual data on what Korea does, because it's like kind of secret, kind of not. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm going to see how it works. So far, it's been great. And before I pulled out the other arrows, the bow was perfectly tuned. Everything was in a straight line all the way back. So let me show you where I made my mistake. So I started off walkback tuning at an extremely close distance, just sighting into that dot up top there. We are probably like sub 10 meters. Then I took a few steps back. Now my property isn't totally flat, so I end up going up a little hill here. So I make sure I stand on top of the hill because I'm still too low. It's gonna mess up. It won't mess up the right and left results, which is what I'm looking for, because that's going to indicate if my center shot's off. But there's always a possibility I might actually be way too close to the other arrow. So my second shot was from right about here. We were still looking great. We were not even halfway down the target face at that point. I took another one at this distance. Again, we probably hit about middle, and yet we go back further. I'm shooting 6 arrows in total at this point. Took another shot here. Now we were lower. We were in the bottom 1/4, and I probably should have stopped. But hey, you know what? We want to make sure that we have this dead on, because after tuning here, I'm going to go back to 70 meters, and I want to make sure I'm as close to the center as possible, because you don't want to play with that. The farther you go, the little things get much, much bigger. So if you're a good 6 inches off and you're at 18, and it keeps going further and further back, by the time you get to 70, you could be off the bail. Crazy stuff. So this is about where I shot, aiming at that little dot up top, without changing my sight setting, of course. And, well, that's how I caught the wood. So, it's not something I do all the time. Actually, I haven't done it probably in a couple of years. But I got lucky, because I rather hit the wood than hit the stones, because the stones are very unforgiving, especially since it's brand new arrows. But now you can see how I would go about removing one of these arrows that's stuck in the wood. So to correct my mistake and get my arrow out, I usually first examine and see what's going on. So at this point, it requires us getting onto the ground, and then we go and look and see, what is the situation the arrow's in. Because if it's not all the way out the back, then you're kind of in luck, because you may be able to carefully, and based on the type of wood and stuff, wiggle your way out. But since my arrow's all the way through, we're kind of in a tight situation. because the points are usually a little bit bigger than the bottom part of the shaft. So once it gets through, it's kind of like a fish hook. It doesn't really want to come out well. So there's a couple options. Usually it involves some sort of knife and picking away at it. But since the grain of this wood, it's just like a piece of plywood, runs a certain way, I'm probably going to go and run to the garage and grab like a hacksaw or something and probably cut on both sides of this. But we'll see. Now, if you hit a tree, it could be a totally different circumstance because you got to work your way around the bark and stuff. I should probably do a comprehensive video on removing an arrow out of wood and trees in general, just because, you know, I wasn't always as good of a shot as I am now. I'm definitely much better than I've ever been, and I'm improving all the time. But, you know, everybody has experience with missing the target. And when you miss my target, especially at my outdoor summer distance of 70 meters, this is my indoor 70 because I'm shooting from the shooting shack. But when it's summertime and I'm outside, I shoot there. Well, when you miss at that one, you hit trees or you hit the ground. So if you don't hit the ground and you hit a tree, you really learn how to remove arrows as efficiently and safely for the arrow as possible, and you learn it quickly because, you know, everybody misses in archery. And then, well, once you learn not to miss, then everything gets better. But let's go and figure out how to fix this problem. Who's a good doggy? Who's a good doggy? Yeah, who's a good doggy? The dog's on the way to the garage. You can't blame me for these things. Now I just left the garage and I grabbed a hacksaw and we're gonna try a flathead screwdriver because I'm thinking without having to cut the piece of wood all the way out, I might be able to get the screwdriver in there, kind of like a wedge, and make some space and just pull my arrow out. The idea is here to not crack the carbon on the arrow, because if you do, the arrow's pretty much no good. It is good though for doing arrow versus videos, but that's up to your own discretion because that stuff's really dangerous, especially if the arrows are broken. You could have, you know, small explosions and stuff like that. But anyway, when removing arrows from wood, always make sure you don't crack the thing, and check after you remove it just in case. So let's get this arrow out. Alright, I think we're going to get this arrow out. It took a little bit of work. I would say less than 5 minutes though, once I got all the tools. But look at that. Pretty clean. It looks like the frame of my target's still going to be in one functional piece. Hey, I'd rather lose one piece of pine than lose an arrow that costs way more than a little piece of wood here that I can pretty easily replace. So, I know this arrow is going to come out really easily, but in general, if you're removing an arrow, you're going to want to like rotate it and as close to the point as possible. It's going to minimize fracturing or cracking of the carbon in the shaft. But as you can see, this is going to come out really easily, so I'm just going to do a little wiggle, 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 wiggle. Ta-da! Look at that. Look at that. I think it should be in good shape. It's starting to rain again here. I've been getting killed with weather. Yep, this arrow will fly another day. I hope you enjoyed watching. I may do some more of these in the future, just things that randomly happen, because not everything that I do is all hunky-dory. I have the same things everybody goes through. My knocking point moved, this happened, stuff like that. So this is an interesting one. This does rarely happen, but I figured it would be fun to share it with you. Thank you for watching, and happy shooting.